okay, settle in. This might be a long one. There's this joke to be made there, and I'm not going to make it. So 88 Films, which has been doing some really fantastic releases of classic Hong Kong cinema, continues that runaway train with their release of 1992's Police Story 3 SUPERCOP. Now, some people in this country know this movie. This is one of the Jackie Chan movies that did get a wide release and a pretty accessible home video release in America several years later, post-Rumble in the Bronx, when Miramax and through their Dimension film sublabel and New Line were releasing a lot of Chan films from the previous several years into theaters and a lot more on video. But this is the first time in America legally you can buy Police Story 3 SUPERCOP in its original form, in a really, really great form. So what we have here, if you don't know SUPERCOP, this is a film Jackie Chan made in 1992 with director Stanley Tong, who also worked with him for several films. He had done Rumble in the Bronx, he did First Strike, I think he did Mr. Nice Guy as well. And it co-stars Michelle Yeoh, who's somebody a lot more people know about now in this country than did when this film came out. And basically the story is, it's the third in the Police Story series, so Jackie Chan plays the same cop character. Maggie Cheung is back as his long-suffering girlfriend. Bill Tong is back as his long-suffering boss. And a lot of the peripheral players in these films are back, sometimes playing different roles. And we add the added element of Michelle Yeoh in this film, who plays a mainland China equivalent to Jackie Chan, basically. And the story that there is a story. The story is, you know, in these films, the story, as long as the action's good, the story, whatever. But the story is that Chan has been recruited to help fight a drug smuggling operation that's bringing things into Hong Kong from mainland China. So they have to work together and go undercover. Chan goes undercover and infiltrates the gang, and Michelle Yeoh also goes undercover with him. And it was a big deal at the time because Michelle Yeoh, I guess, she had been making movies since the mid-ish, late 80s. And retired for a period of time. This was the film, this was her comeback film, and Chan had never had a female who was an equal to him in one of his films before. And Michelle Yeoh is the equal of Jackie Chan in terms of her status in the police force and in terms of her martial arts and action ass-kicking ability. And this film is just a total blast. As I said, this was released in the US in theaters from Dimension Films. Its video debut here as an English language title was through Criterion, which was interesting at the time. But like everything that was released for Chan in this country in that sweet 90s period where he finally attained, you know, big success here, it was all messed with. The films were cut down by a lot of time to take out. Sometimes it was to improve the pace. Sometimes it was to take out the dramatic and get to the action more. Sometimes it was to take out things that were overtly Hong Kong or Chinese that people might not understand. And they would redo the music and they would dub them into English, usually with Chan's own voice. Chan and Yeoh do their own dubbing in the English version of this, which is great. And it was a total blast to see this in the theaters back then. Very exciting time to be a pre-existing Jackie Chan fan. Very exciting time to discover him because you could see his movies on the big screen, and they're releasing his best stuff, which was, you know, a stretch of time where he just put out really great material. So this movie's a blast. It's well known for its end sequence. The last 10 minutes of any Jackie Chan movie are always going to knock your socks off, and this one involves, I'm not going to give anything away if you haven't seen it. The trailers will do a great job of that. You get Michelle Yeoh jumping a dirt bike onto a moving train. You get Chan fighting on top of a moving train, a helicopter on a train. You get Chan hanging from a ladder on a helicopter flying over Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. It's just insane. And all the action that leads up to that's great too. And the story's pretty good and dramatic in this too. And there's some laughs. So it really has everything you want in a Jackie Chan movie. It's arguably his best film. A lot of people cite this as his best release. And I don't know that I can really disagree with that. So that's the movie. If you're a fan like me, you've been waiting for 4 minutes for this fool to say, what's this disc like? And the answer is, this disc is really nice. Now, a lot of the first two police stories have been released by Criterion in America and by another company that I don't recall overseas that might even be a box set of all three, or the first three or four. First Strike is also sometimes known as a police story film. He did a film called New Police Story, but technically most people think of these three movies as the police story movies. So why don't I show you, because I actually have it right here. So it comes in this nice thick box set here. So you've got some cool new art on the front. Oh, did I mention this is a 4K release? 4K and Blu-ray, and I'll get into that a little bit more in a second. So you get some text on the back with no glare. Slip case allows you to slip and slide the stuff out. So what do we get? You get a poster which I'm going to talk about the actual content of this too. Wow, I've actually not opened this yet. So this is on like thick cardstock almost. So you get what I believe to be is a reproduction of one or more original posters for the film. Pardon my flipping and flopping here. So you get a pretty cool, sizable poster, double-sided. So your options of posters there. You get a, can you hear that? Are you warm? You get a pretty thick book here with a lot of photos and a lot of writing. I mean, there's some weight to this. And then you get the thing we're here for, the actual disc. So you get a reversible cover, which, let me just slip this out so you can see the other side. So you get, that's the cover, or you can flip it, and some nice new artwork of our leads. You get six or more, I'm a collector, so I'm actually not going to open it. 6 or more lobby card reproductions there, postcards with these are also double-sided. And then it's a 2-disc set. So what you have there is the 4K Blu-ray, UHD, super high def, and ultra high def, I should say, and you get the regular Blu-ray. Now the contents, the film is the same on both, the audio is the same on both, but the Blu-ray has more extras on it. So I'm gonna read from my notes that are just over there and tell you all that you get with this release, because it's a lot. So you get the Hong Kong version of the film, which I don't know that I've ever actually seen this. I might have an old, like, Yeoh DVD or one of those imports from China DVDs for this film that allowed me to see it with kind of poor subtitles. But before that, it was just the US version. The first time I saw this movie was on VHS, and it was a bootleg that, little story. It's going to be a long one. So the way my friends and I first got into Hong Kong movies after discovering that Jackie Chan made these amazing films via an episode of the Incredibly Strange Film Show that aired on the Discovery Channel in the late-ish 80s was there was this guy, I won't name him, there was this guy in Boston who worked at a poster shop in Boston. If you know what I'm talking about, you know who I'm talking about. And he had a big collection of Laserdiscs. And what he would do is make videotape copies, VHS copies of these Laserdiscs, and he'd sell them for like 20 bucks a piece. This was stuff you couldn't get any other way. This was really pre-internet, and he was like your Hong Kong action movie dealer, and some of them just weren't in English. So the copy I first saw and fell in love with, Police Story 3, I must have said Police Academy 3. Police Story 3 was a VHS tape that had no English translation at all. It was in Chinese, no subtitles. And we were happy to have it in those days. It allowed us to see the action. You could more or less follow the story, but it felt fresh, let's just say, when I saw the Miramax version of this and could actually really understand closer to what was supposed to be going on. So you get the Hong Kong version of the film, which is 96 minutes. You get the US version, the SUPERCOP edit, which is 91 minutes. You have, the 4K is all region free. The Blu-ray is region 1, if that matters to you. So what you get on this for the Hong Kong version, you get Cantonese Dolby Atmos 5.1 or 7.1 compatible audio. You get Cantonese mono. You get Cantonese stereo, which is the original home video mix. You get English mono, which is the classic English dub. So if you ever did see this in English back then, it is the English dub version of the film. And on the English SuperCop Miramax version, you get the dub that, the dub and the audio soundtrack with music that we've always known. So that's another thing too, is that Hong Kong version is what people saw originally, and the international dub is the same music and everything. The US version of SuperCop changes everything. It's got this new, slightly condescending, very aggressive opening title sequence with all kinds of graphics and sort of clips from the movie and people's names flying around and the hee-haw sound. And you get a soundtrack with a bunch of indie bands. It was originally on Interscope Records, so you get the end, which I actually like. I love Tom Jones, so you get Tom Jones singing Kung Fu Fighting under the end credits, which is a fun vibe. And there's a modern band doing a version of Staying Alive during one sequence. The original version, you get Jackie Chan singing a song under the end credits, and otherwise it's just instrumental music throughout. So the SuperCop version is a different experience to a degree. I chose to watch the Hong Kong version, and let me tell you, I've never seen this movie look this good, and I've never seen the movie sound this good. It sounded really good. Like, the audio, dialogue was crisp, the effects were crisp, and the music sounded really good, which I've never everything I used to watch for Hong Kong movies, they always tended to be kind of flat. They were just these flat mono, kind of tinny actually mixes that we would get in the old DVDs and VCDs and in theaters, honestly, in the old days. So it's really cool to hear Police Story, I would keep on to call it SUPERCOP. Police Story 3 sounding this good. So what else do I have to say about this? The extras. We have, you can't hear that I have a really loud scroll bar on my mouse, can you? We have a commentary by Frank Zhang. Frank Zhang is the man who used to run Tai Sang Home Video in the US, and it was the place that a lot of us first saw a lot of Hong Kong movies. It was videotapes originally, VHS, a lot of 2-tape sets. They would split a movie that could easily fit on 1 tape into 2 tapes so they could charge twice as much, but it's water under the bridge at this point. And then they put out a lot of early DVDs and Laserdiscs of these movies. You get, and his commentaries are always great because he knows a lot of the people involved. He knows the history of everybody. So you get the history of, where Jackie Chan was at the time. He talks a lot about the differences between the US and the Hong Kong cut. And it's just his commentaries are solid. He's been on a lot of these 88 films releases, and it's always my heart flutters a little when I see Frank Zhang's name on something because I know it's going to be a really solid commentary. You get a Jackie Chan interview. These few interviews that all seem to have been done for a previous or prepared, let's say, for a previous release of this by some company. You get a Jackie Chan interview, you get a Michelle Yeoh interview, which looks like it was done around the time she was doing a lot of press for the US release as SUPERCOP. You get a Ken Lo interview. He's in the movie. He's the guy Chan fights on the train at the end of the film. He was Jackie Chan's bodyguard for a long time. He's the guy Chan fights at the end of Drunken Master 2, and he's in a lot of Jackie Chan movies. He was part of the stunt team. And a Stanley Tong interview, the director. Each of those is roughly about 20 minutes, between 17 and 20 minutes. You get an earlier Stanley Tong interview from 2004. Sorry, not earlier. You get a more recent Stanley Tong interview from 2004. I say more recent, it's still 20 years ago. And all of these were standard def sourced, so I think that's probably why they didn't bother putting it on the 4K. These are all only on the Blu-ray. The interviews are exclusive to the Blu-ray because I think the Blu-ray, you could pack a lot of stuff on there, but for the 4K, they want to devote as much bit rate and data space as they can to making the feature look as good as possible and figuring it's going to be what advantage do you have putting old beta SP quality video on a 4K disc? Then you have a 1984. This was really cool for me. A 1984 Jackie Chan Michelle Yeoh commercial for a watch company. That looks like it was sourced from a videotape. Maybe a TV recording. Not bad, just not perfect. And that's really neat because that's the first time the two of them met and worked together. She was a Malaysian beauty queen who was brought in to do this commercial with Chan, and later on that connection is what got her to be in this movie. So I'd always read about that. It was really neat to finally be able to see it. We have the Hong Kong trailer that runs 4 minutes. We have the Japanese teaser trailer, which has some exclusive footage in it that is footage that was it's basically a now filming kind of, like they used to do with some really big movies in the old days, now filming around the world, and you get some behind the scenes footage. It's a very short trailer, but you do see some stuff that you don't see anywhere else. You get the the English language, English export trailer, which has some clips from the other Police Story movies, and you get a sampling of what his dubbing sounds like in those films. You get the US teaser for SUPERCOP. You get the US full trailer for SUPERCOP, which was a slightly misleading trailer, but a trailer that is really well cut, and I always liked it. You get 7 TV spots for SUPERCOP, and you get a home video screener promo, which is something that was sent to video stores to say, this is why SUPERCOP is great, and it made all this money, and it's going to do great rental sales for you, or great rental business for you. What really impressed me is that all of those US TV spots, I mean, all of this stuff, really, for the most part, but especially those US TV spots look perfect. And more often than not, I'm really surprised when I will watch these DVDs or Blu-rays or whatever of movies that were from my lifetime, and the TV spots look terrible. They look like they were pulled from YouTube at really low quality, or somebody happened to record it on a videotape and then made a copy, and his friend made a copy, and his friend made a copy, and then 50 strangers made a copy, and that last copy is what we get on the disc. Sometimes they look really terrible, and I'm always like, do the rights holders, do the studios not have copies of these? And the answer is probably no, but these look perfect. These look as good as they did, if not a lot better, than when they hit TV screens back in the mid to late 90s, whenever that was. So there have been, I think, other releases internationally, overseas maybe, of this film on Blu-ray, maybe on 4K. I don't have access to those. This is the version you can get here. This is really, really pleasing to me. I had a blast watching the movie again. It is so good. It was great seeing this look so good, seeing it sound so good. The fact that the US cut is on here, usually I poo-poo the US versions, but I saw SUPERCOP in the theater and I really loved seeing it in the theater and I have fond memories of that. I still have the Criterion Laserdisc of it, and if this is going to allow me to have one less Laserdisc in my collection, that's okay. I'm really, really happy with this new 4K/Blu-ray set from 88 Films, available now, of Jackie Chan's Police Story 3, SUPERCOP.